They're making all these things happen. Let's begin with some announcements. If you have a cell phone with you, please make sure that that is silenced. And there's lots going on here. You can look at our website, uulakecounty.org, to find out. And if you want to order the weekly bulletin or the monthly communicator, you can do that at the website. Currently, we are looking for someone to volunteer to help me coordinate the adult classes that we offer here at this church. If you're interested, see me, Chris Cleveland, and I will help you out. And you can help me out. And Tai Chi class begins tomorrow, and that will run through April. Mondays at 11, we meet outside, either under the portico or in the backyard, depending on the wind and sun and what's happening. So there's a sign-up sheet out in the narthex. You can sign up if you want to do that, or just show up tomorrow at 11. We are also having people from our church march in the annual Leesburg commemorative parade for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on Saturday, January 21st at 11 a.m. in Leesburg. And we've done this in the past, and it's been very rewarding. It's not a long route, and we're even willing to push wheelchairs if you would like to join us in that activity. If you want to get information about that, see Karen Woolhouse. She can raise her hand. She's over there. All right, and let her know. We're trying to get people to wear their Side with Love shirts, a yellow or any yellow shirt. And I have an extra medium one if somebody wants to borrow it. All right, covenant groups, covenant circles are groups of about 6 to 10 people who meet to discuss deeply. We have a sign-up sheet for that out in the narthex. Today, after the service, there is a meeting of those who have volunteered in the classroom on Sunday mornings. And they're meeting in the children's classrooms. There's also an orientation going on in the adult or older children's classroom. So, like I said, a lot going on here. Our speaker today, via live Zoom, is Rev Janet Onnie, who before becoming a UU minister served as the principal flute player for the Washington Balalika Society and Bermuda Philharmonic Orchestra. She also graduated cum laude with a Master's of Divinity from the Florida Center of Theological Studies. And her postgraduate work was in Chicago and in Berkeley, California. So she retired to Virginia after serving as the first Southern minister of what is now Tri-UU, just north of us. And we are grateful that Reverend Onnie preaches to UUCLC from her home in Virginia. So she offers our opening words today on the screen.
As we come together, let us pause to take stock of the past year, its moments of happiness and hurt, its times of accomplishment and failure, and its occasions of inspiration and fear. We add these experiences to the tapestries of our lives as we look bravely toward a new future.
UUCLC is an inclusive, non-creedal fellowship that works for a just community and fosters a lifelong search for personal spiritual fulfillment. Our Unitarian heritage calls us to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of all persons, while our Universalist part of our tradition encourages us to extend love and acceptance and compassion to all people and beings. You are welcome here. No matter your gender identity, sexual orientation, racial identity, your class or ability, we gratefully acknowledge the traditional lands of the Timucua Native peoples upon whose ancestral homeland we walk today. We are blessed with this land, and we vow to be better stewards of this land, and as our Mother Earth cares for us, we also care for her. If you are here for the first time and are willing, please raise your hand and a microphone will be given to you so you can introduce yourself and briefly tell us what brought you here to UUCLC. Is anybody interested in doing that? Okay, right over here. It's coming.
Good morning, I'm Curtis. This is my wife, Rachel, and our son, Elliot, who's 5 months old. And we're visiting from Massachusetts. And Terry was my piano teacher in high school.
Oh, how wonderful. Anybody else?
Well, just as an aside, I wanted to say he plays up at a church up north, and he plays piano and organ, and he gives piano lessons. And I motivated him to continue with his music, which he did, and superb fashion, I might add.
What part of Massachusetts?
Central. Worcester?
Worcester, okay. I'm from Connecticut.
I'm Anne Marie. This is my family, and we're from Houston. My voice is very squeaky. And we just wanted to get back into going to church. That acceptance for us.
Well, welcome. It's so nice to have new people. Get our seats filled up again. Post-pandemic, well, kind of post. The lighting of a chalice is a tradition shared by UUs all around the world. Rev Janet will provide our chalice lighting words, followed by us singing Spirit of Life. And Terry will play the introduction to that, and we will sing it without accompaniment. So, Reverend Janet.
We light this chalice as we enter into a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come. Renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention.
Okay, competition. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Okay. Each Sunday, we make time for those who wish to offer a joy or concern. If you would like to share your joy or concern silently, you may rise and come forward to this bowl or to the bowl in the back and place a stone or stones in the sand to represent your joys or concerns from the past, the present, and even into tomorrow. You may begin. If anyone wishes to share aloud, briefly, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone.
Well, I'm sure everyone who watches news or sports, there was a near tragedy on the football field. And I know a lot of people here are from New York. And my son and I were, we didn't think he was going to make it, but wow, he's back, he's talking, his brain's intact. I mean, wow. So anyway, I know you can all know who I'm talking about.
Good morning. I'm Henry, president of the board, and I've got a couple of announcements. 3 things to say, actually. Announcements, joys, and concerns. You can put whatever label you would like on them. Number 1, Doug Walker, who was going to assist this morning in the booth for the AV, is not feeling well. He'll be fine, I think. He's got a reaction to the COVID vaccine that he had yesterday. So wish him well so that he can come back and join us again. The other announcement, I'll call it joy also, and that's on Friday, the board decided to extend an offer of employment to Reverend Cynthia Snable for 18 months, which is what she wanted and Triton you wanted. Now, when I say offer of employment, it's not all done yet. so it's still in the process. We have to come up with a final agreement. Details need to be worked out for the finances and salary, who's paying what, and all that. Try you. It's a very unique arrangement, and I'm looking forward to working with that. So is she. I received an email from her that she's looking forward to completing the details on the agreement and then coming to work with us, which I think it's a joy. I like that. Which I think will be in probably February. Okay, I wouldn't look for it before that, but Chris Higgins and Carol Arvell are working with TriUU to come up with the details of the agreement. Now, something about the agreement, I mentioned this, it's called finances. And you all should know, because I know you've all read my message in the communicator this month. Okay. For those of you who did, I did say in there, but simply, we don't have the funds to pay for a minister. So you're saying, then what are we doing? Well, we have some funds to pay a minister, and we're choosing to use reserve salary money that we didn't have to use for a minister the past 3 years because we didn't have one, okay? So we're going to use that money to make up the shortfall for paying for Reverend Stavely. Now, if she's done, assuming that she comes to work with us after 18 months, we'll still want a minister, I believe. So to pay for that minister, what we're going to have to do is get more funds, right? No. Susie said sell more property. I'm not going in that direction at all. What we're going to do is get more members who will donate funds, and we're also going to reach into our own pockets. This year, everybody got something. I think everybody, maybe not everybody, but we have a lot of people here on Social Security. A lot of people here who get retirement funds from other sources that have every year something called a cost of living increase. Now, where does the cost of living increase come from for UUCLC? Well, from right in front of me, from us, all right? So I'm hoping that everybody considers dipping into your pocket for part of that COLA that you got. I hope you got one from somewhere this year. And if you're on Social Security, you got a pretty good size one. And be willing to share some of that with UUCLC so that we have funds going forward and more coming up to the future. And if you have other funds, certainly feel free to pledge that as well. This is all in advance of the pledge drive, so you'll be hearing more about that when that starts in March, I believe, March or April. But at any rate, I want to mention that one concern we have. We have plenty of money right now to pay for Reverend State. Don't be concerned about that. But going forward, we need to build our funds up as well as our membership. So, and she will help us do that, I'm sure. Okay, so that's the joy of that one. One other thing I thought I'd mention is I'm wearing blue today, and I noticed Chris is wearing blue. And I didn't hear this earlier as to why she's wearing blue. But the reason I'm wearing blue is because tomorrow is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And that's important because we do appreciate law enforcement people in our community. We've had some concern that because we have a Black Lives Matter flag right here in the middle of everything, that we also think we'd like to defund the police. Some people make that equation, and that's not the case. We do not advocate defunding the police. In fact, we are partners with the police in having a safe community where everyone takes care of everyone, and the police are very committed to that. I have met with the police departments in Eustis and Tavares, and they're very sincere and committed to that responsibility to be community police people. So that's why I'm wearing blue, because that's one of the ways, according to the list of things you can do, that's one of the ways that you can show your appreciation for the law enforcement community tomorrow is to wear blue. I suppose the other reason I'm wearing it is because today the Detroit Lions play the Green Bay Packers. And by the way, in Detroit, where there are many African-American communities, they want police. They want more police to protect them in their communities. So we need to know that that's true, not just in Detroit, but all over the country. So I want to make that point as well. So thank you for the time. I'll turn it back over to whoever comes next.
Is there anyone else that wishes to share aloud? Lots of messages in there. If there's anyone who has not been mentioned in your joys and in the joys and concerns that you hold concern for, please feel free to name them aloud at this time.
Debbie, Denny,
Yeah.
Dee Dee, Barbara.
For all those things named, and for all those things that are too tender to speak, we collectively hold them in the light of our compassion and the warmth of our community. For our reflection time today, we are going to do something a little different. We're going to do Tai Chi. So if you wish to, you may stand up at your seat. You may stand up and move into the aisle. You may sit at your seat and try to do it, but don't poke anybody next to you. And, or you may just sit and watch or meditate with your eyes shut and listen to the beautiful music. So get where you're going to be for this experience, and it'll be about 5 minutes. So we can start the music. And just breathe deeply and try to watch your hands. Get where you can see me. And maybe it would help if no, I can't stand on a stool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, please join me in saying our congregational covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church and service of our principles. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. It is our practice that you use CLC to give generously to our church as we are able, remembering both its meaning in our lives and its impact on the entire world. You may donate today in the wooden box that's just outside the sanctuary door, or any of the methods that are mentioned on the screen. And thank you for your donation today. Please rise as able to sing hymn 57 in the gray hymnal, All Beautiful the March of Days. Terry will play it through once totally, and then we will sing all 3 verses.
All beautiful the march of days, the seasons come and go. The hand that shaped the rose and won the crystal of the snow has sent the holy cross of heaven, the flowing waters still, and laid a silent loneliness on hill and wood and field. Oh, senseless sparkling, clear light and Lord's unfold. The seven splendors of the night, brighter through the cold. Like bells in every throbbing vein, of deepens round the heart, and clearer sounds the angel hymn, goodwill to all on earth. O thou from whose unfathomed love the year in beauty flows, thyself the vision passing by in crystal and in rose. Day alarmed to day dawn others speak, and night to night proclaim. In ever-changing words of light, the wonder of thy name.
Lashana Tova, Amun Saeed, Happy New Year. This is the month where it's okay to be two-faced. Like the Roman god Janus, one face looks past to see the past, and one face stands at the threshold, looking into the future. Janus is a wise god. One cannot fully engage with the future unless one has examined the past. January, the dead of winter, is not a time for resolution. This is resilience time. The winter of the soul is when the barest of our human branches are buffeted by the harshest elements of life to test our resilience. These elements test our will to live, our ability to thrive, to endure, withstand, to defeat fear-based thinking, and to overcome the temptations of the ego. The elements that storm us are our buttons, our triggers, our wounds, our walls, our pits, our dungeons, battlegrounds, cemeteries, all the places in our lives where someone has left the scene unforgiven. The dark night of the soul is a veritable winter wonderland of resentment, guilt, anger, anxiety, despair, and failure. That is to say, everything that keeps us from being loving. Everything that keeps us from crossing a threshold and moving into the future. And what a future it is. The entire political, cultural, and religious landscape is shifting on their foundations. Uncertainty is the order of the day, which keeps the prognosticators quite busy. Depending on what prophet you're listening to, the outlook for the future is terrific or it's terrible. I don't want to weigh in just yet. Instead, I'd like us to consider a couple of strategies for moving into this new paradigm in a hopeful, positive, and sustainable way. And for that, I turn to our Unitarian Universalist sources. Reverend Dr. William Murray is a former president of our Meadville Lombard Seminary. He is no stranger to changing fortunes and the need to define and uphold core Unitarian Universalist values. In his book, Reason and Reverence, Religious Humanism for the 21st Century, Murray wrote this: until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. Providence moves too. This deep commitment is more than just a decision or a resolution. It means taking definite, practical steps toward the change we seek, steps that make turning back difficult, if not impossible. Have you ever done this? Buy the plane ticket. Clear space in the calendar. Send in the application. Make the dinner invitation. Sign the contract to hire a minister. Murray says this deep commitment is what can open the way for all manner of unforeseen incidences and meetings and material assistance. Again, a commitment is different from a resolution. A commitment implies action. Recently, my spouse made a commitment to weekly deliver groceries to underserved community members. If he doesn't deliver, people go hungry. Murray is right about providence moving with commitment. In making the commitment, Nelson has met people who have stories of great suffering, incredible kindness, and remarkable perseverance. He has been supported by people he barely knew. As a result, our social circle has expanded to include people I would not normally be privileged to know. So the first strategy for moving across the threshold is to make a commitment. Start from where you are and take one step at a time. Do the good that you can in the place where you are with the tools and the people around you. For the past week or so, the people around me have sent all manners of greetings expressing hope for happiness in the new year. Happy is a word that strikes me as being a bit transient. I prefer to strive for joy, a state which seems deeper and more solid. or contentment, but also deep, but it lacks the pervasiveness of joy. But this is not a time to parse words. Do you remember Marianne Williamson? As bizarre as her bid for the 2020 Democratic candidate for president, she is really a credible author and spiritual leader. She's a minister in the unity tradition, and she named joy as an important source of energy for sustainable change. Your joy about the way things can be is much more powerful and persuasive than your outrage about the way things are. That's what she said. So joy is another strategy for a sustainable journey beyond the threshold. Rebecca Lee from our Nashville congregation introduced me to the work of Dr. Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology. Dr. Seligman developed the novel idea of studying what he calls happy people. David Brooks did the same thing in his book, The Road to Character. We know an awful lot about how people are dysfunctional, but we're just beginning to study how healthy people function. So far, researchers have named 24 character strengths that help people to be happy. I don't want to begin 2023 with yet another list, but I do think it's instructive to know that both Seligman and Brooks have discovered that happiness is about the attitude in which we approach life and the ways in which we give it meaning. But I think you already know that. And I suspect you already know that happiness is not about the latest gadget. No, not even a personal drone. It's not about the newest style. No, not even about skinny jeans or leggings. Happiness is not even about the latest movie. I have coveted all of those and even indulged in Avatar and 3+ hours of popcorn. Humor is important to happiness, but it is only one of the 24 character strengths that cover areas such as wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. Implied in Unitarian Universalist communities are the characteristics of compassion, persistence, vitality, integrity, emotional intelligence, kindness, self-control, prudence, humility, love, and of course, always and forever, hope. In fact, most of these character strengths are embedded in our 7 principles: the inherent worth and dignity of everyone, our quest for justice, our attitude of acceptance, our curiosity about the search for truth and meaning, our commitment to follow our conscience in seeking peace, liberty, and justice for all, while recognizing the connections between us. The character strengths even embrace the use of the democratic process in our decision-making. That's where the characteristic of humor is most useful, although I'm not including the process of choosing the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives in the humor category. According to the folks who are studying emotionally healthy people, character strength undergirds happiness. And the development and strengthening of character is a lifelong process. It happens about the same time and place that life happens, be it in January or May or October. Which is the reason I have a hard time making New Year's resolutions. Life doesn't begin in January. January is in the depths of winter. It's the season of waiting, of hibernation. I know you all haven't gotten the memo on this. The Florida season is anything but a time for hibernation. I remember how irritable I got when I felt I needed to make a list of things I resolved to do better, especially when it's a sunny 80 degrees and there are lots of seasonal friends and activities to distract me. Trying to fix something we dislike, whether it's something about ourselves or something about the world, it locks us into a place of rejection and anger and fear. When the fix fails, in my experience, it's around the 4th week of January, it leads to bitterness and despair. Then I feel guilty and inadequate for months afterwards, actually, until spring rolls around. Then the renewal of the earth and its creatures gives me hope that things aren't quite so bad after all. My resolution to be a healthier, kinder person seems more doable when everything around me is starting again. So I don't make New Year's resolutions in January anymore. Instead, I wait for the energy of spring. What I do like about the turning of the year is remembering what brought joy. I like this quiet, fallow time to recall the lessons learned, the support of the people who were my teachers, and those moments of joy that led to deep contentment. The new year is not a time to try to fix our disappointments. It's a time to cultivate and nurture something new that we desire for ourselves or for the world. Something that moves us into a place of affection, compassion, and appreciation. If the something new doesn't immediately succeed, we are far likely to give up the effort because the effort itself feels like a joyful participation in change rather than a dutiful burden. The recollection of joyous moments brings with it an urge to recapture that feeling of deep contentment. This winter time, this fallow time, this is a time of visioning, of dreaming into possible or even not so possible futures. Committed joy is undergirded by an emphasis on the spiritual aspects of our lives. We need a horizon in our lives that is larger than the day's headlines or the trending meme or the latest hashtag. A third strategy for crossing the threshold, individually and collectively, is cultivating spiritual practices. There are lots of types of practices. You did one this morning. Sitting meditation, gardening. What they all have in common is that they add a little eternity to what Reverend Rob Hardy's calls the relentless temporality of our lives. He goes on to point out that the eternal and the temporal should be in dialogue with each other. They should inform and balance one another. But we've lost the balance. Today we're bogged down in the temporal, and that's a very small perspective. We need something big to balance it out. Spirit is big. God is big. Another thing that's big is hope. Hope is the bridge between the temporal and the eternal. A spiritual practice is the balancing pole we carry onto the bridge of hope. In this new year, hope has expanded from a narrow tightrope to a paved road. A balancing pole would seem just one more thing to carry, but let's not dispose of it just yet. If we integrate a spiritual practice into our lives, we will be much more able to sustain our commitment with joyful confidence in our journey. There's one more strategy as we stand at the threshold of a new year, and it's at the best of all. The great Sufi mystic Rumi writes, "There is a secret medicine given only to those who hurt so hard they cannot hope. It is this: look as long as you can at the friend that you love. Look as long as you can at the friend that you love." Beloveds, we cannot make this journey across the threshold all by ourselves. We're on this journey into the future together. Together, we'll sing and pray. Together, we'll organize and march. Together, we'll light candles in the dark and celebrate warmth and light. Together, we'll remember our dead and provide sanctuary and solace to the vulnerable. Together, we'll bless the beasts and the children and each other. Together, we'll envision possible and even not so possible futures. The Reverend Catherine McTeague writes, "The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. Yet also we stand at a threshold. The new year something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands. Let us embrace our power. With a deep reverence for all that is our lives, let us joyfully and hopefully commit ourselves to find fresh ways to nurture our spirits and help heal the world. To courageously cross the threshold into a time of risk and wonder, together, always together. May it be so. Amen." As we cross this threshold together, let us with stunning power sing hymn number 350 in the gray hymnal, "The Ceaseless Flow of Endless Time." Please rise as you are able while Terry plays it through once. We will sing all 3 verses. We extinguish the chalice to the words of Kathleen McTeague. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun also rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. As we extinguish this flame, we stand at a threshold, a new year, something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands. My friends, there is a power at work in the universe. It works through human hands, but it was not made by human hands. It is a creative, sustaining, and transforming power, and we can trust that power with our lives. It will sustain us wherever we take a stand on the side of love. whenever we take a stand for peace and justice, whenever we take a risk. Trust in that power. We are together held by that power. Go in peace, resolving to use that power to love the hell out of this world. As you leave the sanctuary, please enjoy Terry's music while you gather for coffee and conversation. She's playing "This Could Be the Start of Something Big."